Medical Dialogues. I am Dr. Nandita Mohan, and today I will be taking you all to explore the world of rare diseases. And my topic for today is Pearson syndrome. Now, to give us an in depth knowledge about this, we have with us today Dr. Swati Bhayana, who's an associate consultant pediatric hematology, oncology, and BMT unit at Fortis Memorial Research Institute from Gurgaon. So, thank you so much for joining us today at Medical Dialogues, ma'am. It's really a pleasure to be having you on board here with us today.
Hello, you all. Thank you, Dr. Nandita, for the kind introduction.
Great. So, ma'am, we're talking about Pearson syndrome, now handing off the stage to you. So, if you could just briefly explain what Pearson is and how we have to go about understanding the entire disease on itself.
Sure. First of all, welcome to all of you and congratulations to the entire team of Medical Dialogues for this amazing platform where we can discuss really anything from the common to the rare things. So, talking about Pearson syndrome, it's a very rare disorder, rare to the extent of 1 in 1 million, and approximately only less than 500 cases have been reported till date. So, what is it about? Is we all know that there is some entity in the world known as aplastic anemia. So, there is a sub entity in aplastic anemia where we talk about inherited bone marrow failure syndromes. So, Pearson is one of a kind of inherited bone marrow failure or IBMFS, and it is in fact a mitochondriopathy. So, in Pearson syndrome, because the mitochondria have a large deletion, because there is a genetic defect, so that defect manifests in the form of an inherited bone marrow failure along with various systemic disorders being affected. As I said, it is an inherited bone marrow failure. So we always think about that it will manifest from day one of life or it will manifest later. So talking about Pearson, it is actually a hemoglobinopathy, or I would say a mitochondriopathy, which presents like refractory anemia of infancy. When I talk about refractory anemia, it usually manifests a bit late, not like on day one, maybe around 5 months, 6 months, and in the form of blood product dependence. Your child will be dependent on blood transfusions, platelet transfusions. The mitochondrial anomalies and the disorders caused due to the mitochondrial inherited defect usually manifest late. So by 3 to 6 months, the kid usually be symptomatic about it. So when we talk about the mitochondriopathy, we'll always be worried that what are the other symptoms that child might manifest with. So apart from the bone marrow failure, in which there is a platelet and blood dependence, the child will usually have a refractory metabolic lactic acidosis. There will be recurrent diarrheas. There might be recurrent infections because of neutropenias, or there will be failure to gain weight because they usually have an exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, and the recurrent diarrheas never let the child thrive well. So when we talk about how to go about a diagnosis of this syndrome presenting in infancy, we usually hit a patient with aplastic anemia or a bicytopenia with a bone marrow. That is the first thing we talk about. Whenever we want to evaluate a kid with bicytopenia, we want to go and check how's the factory that is functioning. So when we talk about the factory in case of Pearson, the bone marrow gives us very, very important answers and few diagnostic clues where we always think about. So it is a pathologist's guide to the clinician where we know that we might be dealing with something known as Pearson. And the hints that we get in the bone marrow are usually of vacuolations, which your pathologist will highlight you, a ring sideroblastic picture about in 75 to 80%, and a dyspoietic picture. It may be dysgranulopoiesis, dysmegakaryopoiesis, and the dyspoiesis picture is usually a hint that we get. So when we have a bone marrow hint with us, the next test that we usually want to go about is a genetic test. And the genetic test of Pearson is not a usual NGS like any other inherited bone marrow failure. So that's the twist in the story. So whenever you're doubting Pearson, you also have to hit the mitochondrial genetics and mitochondrial genetic analysis. When we talk about a difference in the manifestation in boys and girls, since it's a mitochondrial inheritance, it presents similarly in both the genders. When we talk about the hematological manifestations, they are usually of the manifestations of anemia, in which the infant may present with, let's say, irritability, lethargy, not feeding well, not wanting to play, or there might be manifestation of platelet disorders, platelet thrombocytopenias, let's say ecchymosis or bleeding, or there might be, rarely it may manifest like recurrent infections because the child also has neutropenias. So when we talk about the other systems, that is a very common thing that we have to deal with in Pearson. So Pearson not only affects your bone marrow in which your factory is damaged, but it also affects the other system. Let's say go head to toe. So when I talk about neurological, there might be a developmental delay, a hypotonia, ataxia, seizure disorder. There might be hearing anomalies. The child might not be able to hear well. There might be ophthalmological defects which involve retinopathies, cataracts, glaucomas, retinal hemorrhages. Then there might be liver anomalies. There might be kidney anomalies in which the child may have an early renal tubular acidosis manifesting like a Fanconi. Or there might be liver disorders which may include liver failure, cholestasis. Also, one important thing which I want to highlight, that Pearson has a pancreatic insufficiency. So the child usually manifests like an endocrine pancreatic insufficiency or an exocrine. So we usually test them for that in form of amylase, lipase, fecal elastase. So when I talk about this deadly syndromes in which less than 500 cases have been reported, we obviously have to understand that the treatment options are treatment therapies are usually tailor made, and it is one experience which people usually devote. So the current treatment options are very limited, and the usual course of this illness is not very promising. So Pearson's, by 3 to 6 years, some Pearson hematological manifestations regress on their own. This is known as a spontaneous resolution type. In the other variants, some have a wavy course and they may manifest later in form of anemia and thrombocytopenia dependence. When I talk about treatment options for the hematological aspects, a very promising treatment option is blood transfusion. Just support them what is not available. Give them GCSF supplementations. Next defect, pancreatic insufficiency. So the treatment option is give them pancreatic supplementation. Next treatment option is about infections, about diarrheas, about failure to thrive. So we usually just supplement with whatever is lacking and try to give them a better life. So when I talk about definitive options, the definitive treatment option is bone marrow transplant, or in the current word, I would say hematopoietic stem cell transplant. So it is a definitive therapy because this is known to cure the hematological aspects and the hematological meagres of the Pearson syndrome. So when we talk about genetic inheritance of Pearson, it's a very atypical thing. So Pearson comes in the variant which is known as single large mitochondrial deletion disorders. So when I talk about single large mitochondrial deletions, the deletion in Pearson is usually over a large mitochondrial DNA defect, and that presents further in like a heteroplasmy inheritance. So some theories propose that the larger the deletion, the more will be the severity of the spectrum. While the others say that since it is a heteroplasmy association, there might be difference in how the child manifests. Because it is a mitochondrial inheritance, so the inheritance usually, as we always think, is known to come from mothers. Having said that, I will say about very specific thing that out of all the cases that have been reported, only 50% are known to have a genetic history provided or a genetic significant history associated. So Pearson is also known to happen like a sporadic event, like a sporadically occurring deletion in the mitochondria of the zygote, and that is manifesting as a Pearson syndrome. So when we talk about lifestyle or dietary modifications, it is usually just about supportive care or dietary modification because the child does have an exocrine pancreatic insufficiency. So the promising treatment on the horizon is definitely one that I'll be lucky and I'll very, very proud to be associated with this treatment that we recently did at our hospital. So I really feel proud to be sitting here being associated with the Fortis Memorial Research Institute team who treated this Kenyan kid. She's a super cute baby, a super amazing family. She's always there with her positivity and giving us the strength to treat the Pearson. So this girl came to us at 8 months of age and being undiagnosed in her home country with the typical manifestations of anemia, thrombocytopenia, not getting answer, one bone marrow done but unanswered stuff. So they presented to our center, and the approach we took was, because we doubted initially with her infantile presentation, with her anemia, thrombocytopenia, that she might be dealing. Second, got a guidance from the pathologist with a very good bone marrow. Third, did a targeted NGS for a mitochondrial deletion, which was positive for her. In an 80% cell, the large heteroplasmic mitochondrial deletion was found, and we took her up in the absence of any sibling. There was no sibling. We could not find a matched unrelated donor, so we took her up for a haploidentical transplant from the mother. And this is a very successful thing that which we were able to do. She's currently 4 to 5 months post transplant. Her transplant stay was uneventful. We celebrated her birthday. It was an amazing aspect, treating her, dealing with the family, dealing with the positivity of the family, and dealing with the bone marrow transplant, which gave us so many challenges. So the bone marrow transplant, which is the haploidentical way in which we did the transplant of this kid, this will be currently the 7th case which will be reported in the entire world amongst the 500 cases that have been reported. So amongst the 7 cases, none of the approaches took a haploidentical transplant. All other reported were either matched sibling or matched unrelated or cord blood transplants. So the approach to treatment that we followed in this case, bone marrow transplant, and we are very happy that the child is currently cured of her Pearson, and we are following her up closely for all the other manifestations. So as we all have been discussing, that this bone marrow transplant had been a life-changing experience for the baby as well as for the unit. The unit has been doing transplants for inherited bone marrow failure syndromes in immense numbers, but from India, this had been the first haploidentical transplant for Pearson, which had been reported, at least to the best of our knowledge. And we really look forward to doing more haploidentical transplants, exploring more donors, and giving them better quality of life for these patients.
Thank you so much, Dr. Swati, for such a good explanation, and congratulations to you and your team for achieving this feat. Definitely treating an 8-month-old and identifying, it all narrows down to early identification, and with your team, with special assistance, you were able to diagnose the child at an early stage, so then the treatment was also provided. So definitely heartiest congratulations to you and your team. And congratulations once again, and thank you for joining us today at Medical Dialogues and being a part of this rare disease program that we are basically aiming to create awareness so that more and more people come across, get their diagnosis after understanding if they have any abnormality, and then getting the treatment started at an early stage. So thank you so much once again for joining us today at Medical Dialogues.
Pleasure is mine, and all. Thank you so much, all of you, for giving us this opportunity. And I'm really glad that we are serving you all with these rare disorders.
Never miss a medical update from Medical Dialogues. Like, subscribe, and press the bell icon.